Why the Polish flag is so bad? So, it doesn't take an expert vexillologist to understand that the Polish flag is simply bland and unimaginative. I mean, it's almost identical to Monaco, which is the second smallest country in the world with a history that can be summarized in two sentences. And Indonesia, a confederation of many peoples that have one thing in common, which was at one time in the history all being a Dutch colony. And I'm not trying to take away from the individual ethnic groups in Indonesia, but rather as a united state which has very few reasons to be as such. While Poland has a history that is, at the minimum, over 1,000 years old and extremely complex, or maximum, going back to the Lusatian culture that settled the territories of modern-day Poland in 700 AD, which would make Polish history 2,700 years old. But going back to the main point, I will divide the video into three parts. First the anthem, then the coat of arms, and finally the flag, for you to kind of realize the whole subject better, because the flag in a void is not that important. Rather, I will try to illustrate that all of the symbolicism of modern-day Poland is based on something that it shouldn't be based on: the anthem. Okay, so we have to start somewhere. All, and I mean all the state symbolicism of the Third Polish Republic is based on Napoleonic Poland, to be exact, the Duchy of Warsaw, which was the first time the modern-day Polish flag was implemented. And most importantly, the anthem, with lines like "Under your leadership we will unite with our nation," referring of course to Napoleon, or "From Italian lands to Poland," referring to Polish volunteers fighting in Italy by Napoleon's side in the War of the Second Coalition. Or the fact that the anthem was literally wrote by a Polish general in Napoleon's army, Marsz Dąbrowskiego, referring to Henryk Dąbrowski. But hey, you might say, what is the bad part about it being based on Napoleonic Poland, right? I mean, it could be cool or something. Well, because the Duchy of Warsaw was a very small puppet state, and a rump state at that lasted shorter than the TV show Friends. Yes, this Polish statehood that all of the symbolicism is based on lasted shorter than the TV show Friends. So without this being the bad part, it was very much a puppet state in literally every single sense. First of all, it was called the Duchy of Warsaw and not Poland, because Napoleon didn't want to offend the powers that partitioned Poland. And then it's pretty obvious that the state didn't control most of Polish lands, and yeah, it didn't. It was just about Warsaw and the terrains near that. But despite all of it, it's still not the worst part. The worst part is that Poland was literally an empire 10 years before the Duchy of Warsaw was founded, and for 300 years, I mean even over 300 years at that. Getting back to the anthem, one thing that always bothered me was that in most schools in Poland, in the music classes, we are taught that it was the first and only national anthem, and it was written so long after the PLC has collapsed. And also that the PLC was so backwards that it didn't have anything that could be considered an anthem, which is obviously false. Poland had many anthems before it, like Bogu Rodzica, and after, like my favorite, Rota. And if I dislike the modern anthem so bad, well, do I have an alternative? Of course I do. Rota is a far better anthem. First of all, it's much more dramatic and touches at least vaguely most parts of Polish history, the Polish mindset, etc. Fortunately, most Poles know that song very well, since we are taught to memorize it in our schools. And genuinely, most Poles would say that Rota is a far better anthem than the current Marsz Dąbrowskiego. Coat of arms. Okay, so here it's much more complicated, but still I'll try to kind of give you a good idea. So the current Polish coat of arms was designed in 1927 by Zygmunt Kamiński. The reason why the coat of arms of the Duchy of Warsaw wasn't kept was because it was still a monarchist coat of arms, right? It had one side was the Polish eagle, the second side was the Wetyn ancestral coat of arms, right? That's why the Napoleonic coat of arms was abandoned, and then there was the coat of arms of the Polish legions that were fighting for Polish independence. And then in 1927, when all the wars have stopped by some time, the state was slowly establishing its power in most of the territories of Poland, etc. They wanted to have a new symbol. His design was imposed as the coat of arms by the authoritarian government of Józef Piłsudski, commonly referred to as Sanacja, which Again, also Józef Piłsudski wanted kind of a new symbol, a new coat of arms to kind of show that Poland now under his authoritarian dictatorship is moving forward, blah blah blah. Which again, it's kind of bad that we're having the coat of arms that was ordered to be designed by a dictator. The Polish eagle was changed to signalize the shift in Polish politics after the May coup, which was the year prior when Józef Piłsudski took power and abolished Polish democracy. First of all, the opened crown, which symbolizes princely rule, not the power of a king. What that means is that it symbolizes subservience to another political entity, and historically the Polish coat of arms has always had a closed crown, which symbolized independent rule. Yeah, so that's pretty bad. And then, second of all, the golden arms have been reverted to fully white ones, which was completely unjustified without maybe the painter's attempt to minimize the golden color, which was always the third color in most Polish state symbolicism, because gold was completely ignored in the Napoleonic flag of Poland, which was instituted primarily by Piłsudski prior to his coup, in order to kind of get a better deal with all of the diplomats in Versailles, to kind of show that, hey, Poland was a state not so long ago, we have a right to a statehood, blah 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 blah. That's why he chose this flag. But it was just kind of a diplomatic play to get more support. I don't think that's why we should keep the flag, but okay. And the last one, which makes the least sense, is that the eagle's legs were always golden or yellow, depends on how you look at it. I mean, just Google eagle or white eagle and you will see it, right? Eagles have, yellow legs. So I completely don't get it why now they will get fully white ones. It's just simply a mistake. I don't know, there's no other way to put it. I mean, it's like having a lion in your coat of arms and making it purple for no reason. And instead of the full legs being golden, only its nails have that color. Of course, a complete redesign is possible, but I don't consider it to be necessary. But the current Polish coat of arms symbolizes subservience and is simply wrong. But the theme of subservience goes hand in hand with the other symbols of the Third Polish Republic, which glorified the Napoleonic puppet state of the Duchy of Warsaw. And here is a fixed coat of arms that I managed to find some time ago. Quite frankly, it's an old screenshot, so I have no clue who designed it, but if you know, it would be nice to comment who did that excellent work, which the Polish state has been clearly incapable of doing for the past 30 years. Thank you. So now the flag, the last part, the reason why you all clicked on the video. Well, okay, this is complicated, because besides the fact that the current design was implemented when Poland was a small puppet rump state, there is no objective fact that this flag is bad. I mean, because it's a design, right? Some people may like it, but because of its objective unoriginality and I think oversimplicity with no symbolicism whatsoever. And yeah, I know that there is that BS that, well, the white symbolizes the purity of Poland, while red symbolizes the blood spilled in its history. We all know that these are a bunch of excuses for a bland flag. The colors are the most boring mix of the two main colors of the ancestral coat of arms of the Piast dynasty, which were the first rulers of Poland. I mean, the eagle itself has a bit more meaning with the old tale of Lech, referring to the Lechitic tribes, modern-day Poles and Silesians, Czech, referring to Czechs and Slovaks, and the Rus, referring to the Ruthenian tribes, modern-day Ukrainians, Belarusians, and of course Russians, in which, as Lech was wondering where he should settle with his family, he chose the land above which a majestic white eagle was flying into the sunset. So the red symbolizes the dawn, while the eagle symbolizes that specific eagle. But when redesigning the flag, I do not think we should go that particular route. First of all, I believe the coat of arms should be a part of the flag, because it was always much more important in Poland than, let's say, the US or Britain. The coat of arms was the actual flag in it of itself for some time. Also, the eagle has a third color, which was completely forgotten. Golden, as I mentioned previously. I think it would add a lot. The last thing we should do is somehow try to emulate the flag of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, if possible, because then was Poland at the height of its power, for some time was the biggest country in Europe, was the center of liberal reforms like religious tolerance, while the West was killing itself over Protestantism or Catholicism. I mean, I think we should embrace that more well than, this. Okay, now we got to the subjective stuff. Since I really like the aesthetics of futurism, I prefer more technocratic designs, if you could say that, like these. All of them I found on the internet, so yeah, I tried to make a couple of ones myself, but they are of course not the best, but hey, they are here rather to give you an idea of what it can be in the future.